Alright, so today we're going to be installing a Transgo Corvette band servo and a shift improver kit or reprogram kit in a 4L60E trans 2003. The Corvette servo everybody's heard about. It's a 7-2P. Basically, it's a wider diameter. It gets rid of the large diameter inset on the truck servos and some of the car servos and replaces it with a 1 3/4 inch inner diameter. What that does is it increases the distance in here and the apply pressure. It gives it more surface area for the apply pressure to engage the band and keeps it from slipping so much. Other than that, it's really about the same as far as the stock servo goes. Matter of fact, here's the stock servo here, and you can see the difference in the inner diameter and outer diameter. The overall diameter of the servo is the same, but the extra space around the outside allows for more surface area and more apply pressure. Other than that, it's the same. And then, of course, we're going to shim it to make sure we have the proper band end play, band travel. And so we've got a 7-2P Transgo servo. They're relatively inexpensive. It's a great upgrade for any 4L60, 4L60E 700. And then there's the shift improvement kit. It's an HD2. So this will do truck and street strip. It'll do full race. It'll allow you to hold first gear at any speed if you desire to. Servo kit first, since that's easy enough. I actually have the trans already out. This is part of a resto mod I'm doing on an 82 Corvette. It's getting an LS 5.3. That's pretty much built and ready to go in. And this is the 4L60E that came with it out of a 2003 Silverado. It's low mileage. Pulled the pan, everything looked great. Wasn't any metal in there, nothing unsuspected, no plastic, no brass, a little bit of dust from the clutches, but other than that, it was perfect. So I'm going to leave the internals okay, and I'm going to do a shift improvement kit on it and the band, the servo, and send it down the road. And, you know, I mean, these transmissions weren't really made to hold 450 horse, so I'm assuming at some point I'm going to have to pull this thing and go through the internals, but yeah, it's a couple of grand in hard parts that I'd rather not put in it if I don't have to right now. Not necessarily a hard trans to pull, so I'm not going to sweat it. I'm going to send it, and we'll deal with it as it comes. If it ends up you know, snapping the reaction shell or something else. All this stuff can be done inside the car or installed in the car or truck. So you don't really have to pull it to do any of this stuff. The shift improvement kit, the servo, can all be done in the truck as long as you have access to get the servo out, which 99, I don't think I've seen one you haven't, but in a custom install you might not have room depending on how tight the tunnel is. So, you know, any of this stuff can be done in the truck or in the car. It's really not that big a deal. I've obviously got the pan and filter and the valve body pulled already. Here's a separator plate. I kind of left it on there to keep some dust out, and I had this covered before I started shooting this video. And we'll go through the rest of the install and putting it back together. A tip for getting the servo out is around the outside of the servo cover. There's a huge blue O-ring. As a matter of fact, let me grab the new one. That fits around the outside of the servo cover in this groove. I'm not going to install this right now because I'm going to have this cover on and off a couple times, checking the end play on the pin. What happens is that O-ring is going to get caught in the snap ring groove. So if you install it, to get the servo cover out, the best thing to do really is pop the metal snap ring out and slide the cover out a little bit. And once you do, you can use a pick to grab the O-ring and pull it out through one of the grooves and snip it and pull the O-ring out. Once the O-ring's out, the servo cover will pop right off and the servo slides out, no big deal. Keeping it all together with the spring. As part of the shift improvement kit, there's actually an extra spring and some stuff we need to do to the servo itself. So that's actually part of the shift kit. I'm not going to put it back together after swapping the piston and the shaft off the servo. All right, here's the shift improvement kit, the reprogram kit. Transgo's good stuff. Comes in complete instructions. I definitely advise anyone who hasn't been through this a few times to read it pretty thoroughly and understand it. Here's the servo parts. Here's our inner spring that goes inside that we're going to be installing in this kit. There's a red O-ring which goes around the band, around the servo itself, but of course my servo kit included its own seals. They give you another blue servo cover O-ring, and then there's two steel shims that get used to set the spacing to the back cover to control the end play on the servo. So we'll be getting into those in a second. First thing I need to do is get the shaft off this servo and swap it to the new one. and install the inner spring.